And we are recording live from the dungeon in my basement where Don is still being held. A lot of people are concerned about the J6 prisoners, but Don's been held much longer than that in much worse conditions for much less offenses.
You
Um,
have any idea how much it sucks to be chained to a radiator for literal years?
it's what you need. You do well with structure, you do well with boundaries. I'm the training wheels that you need, that you don't want, that you don't know you need, but that you do need. I mean, before this completely derails into whatever the hell it's going to derail into, guys, go to Frank's Speech, Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, his video platform. They sponsor the podcast as well as Gold Genesis Group. Please go in the description, use the promo code, all that good stuff. Support those who support the podcast, and now and then everything from here forward doesn't represent them. Whatever Don and I are getting into, but I'm
That
gonna
that is the necessary
and
disclaimer.
I've never once done that for them. I'm just like, it's I'm like, all right, well, Stoley's not here, so I'm like, it'll be moderately behaved, but the thumbnail is when I guess right after October 7th, and Israel started going back at Hamas, and then Iran like hoisted the black flag. And I made the thumbnail then. And it's you and I as I think I'm like a Saudi sheik, and I think I don't know what you are. You're like a terrorist or something. And,
Miscellaneous guy with
and
balaclava.
I've had that fucking image ready, just like ready to go several times, and I refuse to not use it. So I don't care what we talk about. I just wanted Black Flag Cast. It's 6 months late. It's completely, yeah, maybe it's not irrelevant. I mean, I guess things are gearing up, but yeah. And then also I just read Annie Jacobson's book, Nuclear War, a Scenario. And you know, I've read a million books on nuclear war and Cold War and all that stuff. That was just complete side tangent. That was the most terrifying actual walk. It's like a 4 or 5 hour book, but it takes place over 60 minutes. And I've never been more convinced that we are walking the razor's edge. And
I,
I'm going to post a
I,
link now.
I mean, yes and no. Make no mistake, the White House is full of retards who
Yeah.
are very much under the impression that we can just do whatever we want at all times, and there's nothing we can do about it because mostly after the Soviet Union fell in 92, Russia had no power of any variety. China was still basically a bunch of retards who based their entire lives on how much rice they could produce. And most of the people who are in that White House seem of the opinion that it is 1994, and it is
Mm,
not. All right,
mm.
not even kind of close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they act like we can put up the meat puppet that is the guy standing in as president of the United States, and he can just go, don't, just don't, and that's going to mean something. And at this point, it should be pretty self evident that it doesn't mean a damn thing.
It is. I saw a post on Facebook the other day, which truly is just the graveyard of boomers, but it was, I thought, somewhat accurate. And it was like not neither pro nor against Biden. They go, but is this not evidence that the U.S. empire just keeps trudging along regardless of who's in office? Like it kind of is a little evident where it's like he's there, and then you go, yeah, but it is still kind of we're just advancing. Not, I don't even mean advancing to a good place. I mean, but we're still
keep
it's
keep moving along
yeah.
regardless. Well, so there's this idea that a lot of people seem to have, and well, here let's just piss some people off, right? So, uh, you can see this on the right as like we're going to elect Trump and everything is going to change. Well, there's something like 15 to 20 million federal employees. Uh, they're going to keep doing what they were doing yesterday. And I don't care who you put in that office. You're going to have to go through one by one, nitty gritty, and be like, you, 15 million times. And in the words that made Trump most recently famous, he needs to just be going, you fired, right? And
You fired.
okay, maybe you can restructure the entire 17 million man federal government with people who are worthwhile. But if you don't, then the simple reality is that 17 million people is a lot of momentum, right?
Mm.
We're two retards talking, and that we could spend multiple hours talking about methamphetamine in the mid 20th century. That's two morons talking on the internet, and not 17 million people with pre-established mission statements who have been doing this sort of thing for the past anywhere between 10 and 20 years,
Correct.
right? We have built a thing that if we had no president, it would keep right on chugging until something happened to stop it. And
Mm.
there's this idea that like, well, but if you just put somebody in there who just goes like, "We'll do exactly what I say," then 17 million people are going to turn on a dime and suddenly just reorganize everything they're doing in their entire life. And every idea that they've been committed to for the past decade plus is suddenly going to be like, oh, that was a terrible idea. Let's just not do that. And it's not it's not a great idea. And the evidence of that should at least be as much now as it was when Trump was in office previously. I mean, you can't have an FBI, well, an entire federal apparatus that hates the president of the United States and spent 4 years working against him in its entirety if at the same time you're expected to believe that you just put a new guy in the Oval Office and everything in the world is going to turn on a dime to do what he says. That is obviously not true.
Mm.
Um, in true internet uh, tinfoil hat kind of fashion. That moron that is the Speaker of the House right now, got his intel briefing, and since then has for some reason suddenly not agreed with all the things he agreed with 5 minutes before. And at the same time, you've got Tucker Carlson putting out stuff like every single elected member of the government thinks that they're going to have porn found on their computer, or they're going to have a some sort of ISIS affiliation found if they disagree with the powers that be. Well, that is an animal unto itself at this point, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously that animal is just going to do kind of what it wants, because at this point, who's telling it no,
Yeah.
right? Again, a thing that people should understand from basic things that happen in their own lives. If you have a dog and you don't discipline it, that dog eats your couch, it eats the walls, it eats the doors, it poops in the living room, right? And that's a dog. All
Yeah.
right.
Now imagine if that dog kept growing imagine if that dog didn't have an upper limit on size.
Right.
Now
Or,
it's a grizzly bear.
quantity of right. Get your pet grizzly bear and do nothing to teach it that eating you is not a good idea when it's young. And I mean,
And,
it's a grizzly bear, so good luck to you trying to teach it not to eat you anyhow.
and now sit it down. It's bigger than a van. And I'm like, listen up, buddy. You've been rude to me lately.
Look, you
Why?
ate 9 of the neighbors.
And
All
not only
right.
that, oh,
You're
not
not
only that,
supposed to do that.
and not only that, I've been congratulating it for eating the neighbors for the last 20, 30 years because it's moving my agenda forward. But
Exactly.
now he's eating all the neighbors, and I'm like, all right, dude, we're putting you on like vegan dog food. And now it's
Exactly.
looking at me going,
No.
why? Well, why? But that
Well,
is it.
I don't feel like vegan dog food. I
Yeah.
feel like you could be lunch.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's the oldest, tiredest thing though, right? But you go get that briefing in the skiff and you come out being like, we need 90 quintillion dollars for Israel and Taiwan.
Suddenly I think the Ukrainian war does need more money and gear, and
Yeah, and
maybe
it's
we should put more assets on the ground there in the form of advisors, and
like
we'll
Vietnam.
openly say the CIA is there now.
Yeah. Yeah, like Vietnam, just advisors, right? And it's, on one hand you have the whole like they bring you in there and they just, they show you on Epstein Island, you go, all right. Or it's not even Eisenhower, but I think was it MacArthur. MacArthur was like, he was like, you'll always because you just tried out a new boogeyman whenever you want. There'll always be a boogeyman that's an existential threat to your way of life. And you tried it out, and the only answer ever for that question is military intervention. This
Mhm.
was in the 50s, right? It's the same thing moving so it's one or the other. And I don't even know which one's worse. Is that you just trot out blackmail and go, here's you pounding a kid, or it's, it's just the same military, like, oh no, the world's gonna end, and either you're dumb enough to believe it and go, they're not lying this time. They've been on, they've lied the last 80 years, but now they're being honest, or he has enough brain cells in his head to go, all right, so they domed Kennedy in the other, and I'm the Speaker of the House.
Mm,
All right,
I don't think I'm gonna make it.
all right. I'm just one more guy that allowed it to go on. It's, and I didn't really know which one's worse.
Well, I mean, look, realistically, it's probably both.
So probably, yeah.
Um, there's Basic leadership is you try to motivate people based on goals and why they should buy into them and what those will accomplish and how they can be a part of it, this, that, and the other. And if they don't like that, you pull out the 2x4 and say, well, you can
Mm,
do it, or I can beat your ass until you can't, until you
yeah.
can't do anything. Right. And I don't particularly see this as being any different, right? Because there's somebody long time ago noted that when Trump first got elected, he was all kinds of excited and we were going to change the world and this, that, and the other. And then he walked into the CIA briefing, and as soon as he came out, was like, yeah, well, um, we're going to do what we can, which is a huge shift for a guy who speaks over the top about everything.
I mean, wasn't it? I mean, it was in 2017, right? When he launched that salvo of cruise missiles into Syria.
Yeah, something like that.
Old boss,
That might
same
have
as
been
the
2018,
say
but
whatever. The old
um,
boss, same as the new boss, same as the old boss, right?
well, so uh, yes and no. Um, everybody. I spend a lot of time, and I shouldn't, with like libertarian Twitter, and they went full retard over it. Like these two wars, like, well, we didn't actually go to war.
Yeah.
Um, and you can complain, rightly so, that well, but Don, we put cannons there, and we did all kinds of stuff, and yeah, we did, but we didn't send two divisions into Syria. No
Mm.
matter how you slice it, we didn't do that.
We didn't, yeah.
And so, um, is that better? Sort of. you know,
Mm.
is it better than we're going to repeat Vietnam and Ukraine? In my opinion, yeah, absolutely. Um, and if I
Yeah.
have to choose between tomahawking the hell out of an empty airstrip or sending two divisions into Ukraine to fight Russia, let's tomahawk some airstrips, right? Oh, Don, it's a false choice. Blow me. Um, it is evidently the choice on the table. I'm with you. I don't want to tomahawk Syria either. I don't give a damn.
Mm.
Let them burn. I mean, they
Yeah.
got enough oil to burn the whole country down.
Yeah.
Let them.
Fuck off. Yeah. Yeah.
But pretty clearly, we're in a position where whomever we put anywhere is going to end up subject to the pressures of a thing that has been around at least since World War II, that is, let's say, invasive in the U.S. federal government. And if our choices, as they seem to be, are we basically reinstitute the draft because we've now pissed off all of the historical military in the country, and draft people to go fight World War III in Ukraine with Russia, or fight a Middle Eastern war with the entire Middle East versus us and Israel, then look, fine. If we can placate the bloodthirsty assholes in DC with just tomahawking an airfield, let's do it.
Mm.
Is it expensive? Yes. Is it cheaper than Ukraine? Fuck yes.
Yeah. Is it like moral and ethical? Shut the fuck up. Grow the fuck up. Like, and it doesn't mean that it's not all, it doesn't mean that it's not sad, right? It is sad. Like, you're allowed to look at it and go, yeah, that is sad. But it's also, and it does kind of seem like the newest iteration of the military industrial complex. It's like, it's, we can fight forever wars now. But I don't
Yeah.
know why it took till 2021, but it did, where they just went, if we just send bills to fund Ukraine and we don't actually send our own people there,
Well,
you get
I
the
mean, it
you get some angry retweets, and but
it
then
it
nothing else.
didn't it didn't take this long though, right? So the best example of it not taking this long, and the
I guess
historical trend
I
that,
guess all of the Cold War. Never mind. I mean,
yeah,
I
right.
guess it's just kind of fucked my. Aside from that 45-year, like $30 trillion investment.
Well, so that's not even the one, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's worth noting that we've been at war since 1953 with North Korea,
Yeah.
right?
All right. Yeah.
And
Still no.
now
Yeah.
what do we do in that war? Mostly we send people to South
Yeah.
Korea. We train back and forth. We give them munitions and weapons and all kinds of stuff. And that is mostly a product of the treaty with Japan
Hmm.
in World War II, right? So we're going to put a base in Okinawa and we're going
Yeah.
to provide the military for you, right? So yeah, a lot of this is a product of World War II. And we've been sort of refining along the way, but the general theme hasn't changed. We're going to stock up a bunch of military and equipment in this general place, and you guys are going to, brunt or take the brunt of most of this, and we're, Raytheon is going to get a lot of money.
Hmm.
And so, Because look, make no mistake, we send everybody uh, military equipment of some variety,
Yeah.
right? And so it it's not new. It's not, and don't get me wrong. The primary problem is that nobody cares, right? Which I see people all the time. If people only knew, well, okay, so now you
No,
know.
no, they
What are you gonna do
know.
about
No, they know.
it?
Yeah. No, they know. Yeah, I mean there are like caves in Norway full of like Humvees and like like Bradleys.
Yeah,
It's just I mean again, not I'm not some, military commander, so I know that I don't know. But I mean and I kind of go back to this is it makes me think of molecular biology. It was like the last biology class you took as a bio major. It was like the culmination of all your whatever. And it's just how like the actual intricacies of the cell work. Just it's just a big Rube gold. Open it up a Swiss watch, you just see how it all works. And it's interesting and all that and whatever, but it had never really dawned on me that when you took like a physiology, it would be like, all right, so when you eat food, you release these enzymes in your mouth and in your stomach, and then this happens, and then the mush moves to your intestines, and then your blood your pancreas releases insulin into your blood, and that up, and you're just kind of going along, or if there is a loud noise or something, it's the adrenaline, right? The fight or flight, the dump of norepinephrine, and all the stuff going on. And I guess I just never thought about it, but like there was no the pancreas releases insulin. I'd always just gone, yeah, so the pancreas in the same way that it'd be like I text Dawn and Dawn texts me back. But with molecular biology, what you realize is like, and I feel stupid saying it still, is that there was no one pulling the strings in the pancreas or in the brain or in the spine or in your thumb. Really, what it was, and it's beautiful, it really is a Rube Goldberg device. It's all dominoes in 3 and 4 dimensions and complexities that you can't imagine, but it's all just stuff bouncing off one another. It's just this machine that's going, there is no consciousness to it, right? But to us, we go, yeah, that's crazy. So if you prick if you hit the leg with a little rubber hammer, your knee flies up, and well, that's because the nervous. But who's the nervous system? And you go and you realize you're like, oh, it's these proteins and these chemicals, and you keep going in it, and you don't ever find the person. It's just shit bouncing back, and you go, oh, it's the most beautiful Swiss watch ever.
yeah, kind of.
It kind of
Uh,
seems more like the military industrial apparatus is that doesn't mean there aren't demons from hell, pulling strings, but a lot of it does what you're saying, like the 19 million employees, a lot of it's just like, you're responsible for this. It's like when I have like Claire Lopez on, people are like, the CIA who removed Kennedy. I'm like, do you think Claire killed Kennedy? What the
yes,
fuck? Like, what?
I
What?
think Claire actually is the one who pulled the trigger. That is my
She did.
conspiracy theory about
She,
Claire from now on.
she did, and she's just off camera with a. But no, it's like she's just off camera with a Carcano. But like, you look at it, you're like, what the fuck? But okay, you unwrap it all, and where do you find? Sure, there's probably James G. Sangleton or LBJ or a couple of like snipers, but you don't actually ever find the thing. It just seems to be this apparatus that's I don't mean to remove responsibility from it because if I was one of their lawyers, this would be my opening
Well,
statement, and I'd be
I
like,
should
no
I
one's
should
in
stop
charge.
you right there. Do you
Yeah.
know what one of the greatest lessons of
And
most of the
so one
wars the
thing
U.S.
leads
has
to
been in?
another, and then when there's bad people, you have a guy who comes to the podium and he starts screaming like this, and he just wants to put the people back to work, and people are like, "Oh
Well,
God, this is how it starts." But no, I
So,
mean,
well, so do you know how we went from like the BAR to the squad automatic weapon? Yeah. So in World War II and Vietnam, we started studying shots per body, basically, right? How many rounds do we fire to kill somebody? And we decided basically that your standard straight leg grunt rifleman doesn't actually kill that many people. Now, most grunts that you talk to today will tell you this is dumb, and that they kill plenty of people, and the entire U.S. military is built around the rifleman, and these things are all true, right? But a lot of things happened between World War II and now to make that happen, right? And some of those things were that we found out that people who use multi-person weapon systems, right? So tanks, artillery, um, things like that in World War II, were more willing to kill people than one guy with
Firing
a
squad
rifle,
with blanks.
right? And why is that? It defers the responsibility.
Mm.
Nobody knows who fired the killing shot. And most certainly, nobody knows in advance, right? And so if you have a BAR, you have one guy with a machine gun pointed at the enemy, and he has to do the killing. But if you have a gunner and a loader, well, without the loader, I couldn't have killed this guy. Well, I'm only the loader. I didn't kill him, right? And so everybody gets to push
Mm.
around a little bit of responsibility, and they don't feel like they're the one who solely made the decision to take life, right? And that is exactly the mentality that gets us compartmentalization, which is, I mean, it has become very popular for CIA agents to talk on the internet about their lives and careers. And what is the word that all of them use? Compartmentalization, right? Now
Need to
nobody
know.
is responsible for the thing that happens. Even if you're the guy that pushes the button, right? And you're drone striking somebody or whatever, right? You push the button, and on the way down, you're thinking, well, the entirety of the CIA has decided that this is a bad guy, and
Mm.
I'm just the one removing evil from this earth. And by the way, this mentality is so pervasive that notorious friend of both of us, Dale, talks about this exact same thing. I remove bad people from the earth. Well, where did we get the idea that this person is a bad person?
Bad person.
The entire intelligence apparatus behind Dale, who comes down and goes that this guy is evil. You don't necessarily need to know the reasons, but he has done these 10 terrible things or whatever, right? And so this guy needs to go. And this movement of responsibility from all on the shoulders of one person to 10, 50, 2,000 people makes it so that human beings are more willing to kill. The other thing that gets us riflemen that are more willing to kill at the moment is effectively indoctrination. You go to boot camp, and the first thing you hear is that Haji killed 25 contractors or whatever. They killed 50 Marines this week, or they whatever it is, right? They're placing IEDs that are blowing the legs off soldiers, right? On and on and on, right? So that in the abstract, before you get to a battlefield, like, hey, these guys who were shooting at me, they're killers. And so
Mm.
now this is a life or death discussion in which I either pull the trigger effectively in self-defense, which, by the way, for everybody who hates the rules of engagement, myself included, right? That is, you have to be fired upon before you can fire back. This is why, right? And so as soon as you're fired upon, you can get people to do all kinds of crazy things, right?
Oh, Dale
Uh,
says it. Yeah. Bullets
and
start
that's it.
flying, and he goes, and all of a sudden it's you looking out for your buddy next door. As Ted I said to me, he goes, yeah,
Exactly.
once the bullets start flying, he goes, you just get angry. You go, that guy shot at me.
Uh-huh.
You forget where
Now,
you are on the planet. You go, that he shot at me.
mhm.
I'm gonna kill him.
And it's no longer a is this correct kind of discussion. It's no
Yeah.
longer some abstraction of you get stories from guys in both World War II and Vietnam. On any other day, this guy and I could have been sitting at a pub drinking a beer together,
Just
right?
fine. Yeah.
Except the powers that be put us in, this war. You don't get that from Middle East vets, right? The OIF and OEF guys, we
No,
don't come
it's
back and go, man, I guess we could have had some shawarma with Haji if it weren't for this war thing. Nah, nah, nah. It's
mm,
all fuck those guys, right?
mm,
And is there some quantity of people who are saying those sorts of things? Sure. But it is not pervasive like it was in prior wars. And
mm.
so how did we get that? We get the what amounts to brainwashing in the beginning, right? That, hey, these guys are evil, this, that, and the other. And so you want to know how these things work? Well, we studied war in a way that was not tactical and strategic in traditional sense, right? Not a Sun Tzu variety. We studied it in a how do we get these guys to do things that they don't want to do very clearly. And the results are the results. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that that's a dark art. Get them to do what you don't want. But it's also easier if they're so different from you, right? They're wearing robes, they're dark, they live in the mountains. They don't. You're like, fuck these. It is easier to dissociate. It'd probably be harder to get you to go into Ukraine or something, and regardless of the fact that it's all fucked and everyone knows it's just a neo-Nazi laundering operation. There is something to be said for like, hey man, Russia's like not that. they have cities with subways and electricity and high rises, and they, for the most part, look like you and me.
So
It's
that's a
probably
problem that
harder.
would that's a problem that would begin to exist if we actually invaded Russia, right?
Yeah,
Um, it's much easier to walk into a compound that seems foreign in the Middle East, right? It's a bunch of mud huts and dirt walls and go, what the fuck, man? Right.
yeah,
And as opposed to walk into a slightly Russian styled New York City, right?
yeah,
It is going to feel familiar no matter what you do.
yeah,
Um, but at that point, what you need, and by the way, this is the function of propaganda, right? So when you see the absolutely crazy takes that are the mainstream media on Russia, this is why, right? So you need to believe that they're bloodthirsty psychopaths, but they are not very skilled fighters, which is an incredible take.
yeah,
Specifically because some of the things that I see come out of the Russia-Ukrainian war very seriously imply that they're at least pretty good at their jobs.
yeah,
There are some things in there that are just absolutely 100% factual. Wow, that was good work in the world
yeah.
of
War.
war, and nobody wants to hear that, right? And equally speaking, you have to believe all kinds of weird stuff. But if you're being force fed all this propaganda and you're not stopping to step away from it, right? Then you do believe that the Russians are running out of tanks or ammo or something like that. This war is 15 minutes from being over, just like it has been for the past 10
But
years.
if we don't stop them, they're moving on Paris next.
Exactly.
They're
Right.
both retarded and geniuses.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
so, you but that is a thing that you need to get guys to engage in warfare, right? You can't have the idea be that your enemy is untouchable, right? Because then nobody wants to go fight.
Nobody wants to. Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah,
I mean, eh, seriously think about convincing the 10 people you know best in this world to go fight the Terminator. Right. Okay. It's basically immune to bullets. It will see you in the dark from 25 miles away, and there's
yeah,
nothing you could do about it. Anything less than an explosion is basically not worth your time. Oh, and by the way, they outnumber us 3-1.
yeah.
Uh,
And you can't
Good
actually
luck to you.
kill it. It can just upload its brain
Right.
somewhere else. I mean,
Even if you kill it, it'll be back in 10 minutes.
and I mean, I guess I was gonna say that the Eisenhower letter leading up to D-Day, like, gentlemen, you are embarking on the next great adventure. But then there's also, it was a draft.
Mhm.
You don't have to convince anyone. But
Well, so
he does say in it, your enemy is technologically sufficient, battle hardened, and experienced, I think is the phrase.
yeah,
He wasn't
you
saying
need
they're
to
pushovers.
you need to give guys the idea that your opponent has enough skill to be dangerous, but can be overcome, right? And so
You're
part of
rubbing
the
Mike
problem,
Tyson's shoulders.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
going,
that
you're going, he could get you, but you're a fucking animal. Kill him.
mhm,
All right.
right. And at the same time, though, we live in an era where SpongeBob is like the guiding principle, right? And that's going to sound
No, no,
ridiculously
that
insulting,
it
and
is
it's
our,
meant to
like,
be.
it is our Herculean, like, Joseph's camp. It is our archetype. It used to be like, look to the Greek god, like, what would Zeus do? And now it's like, well, as SpongeBob said in episode 401, like,
Right, right. And so you don't have these, you don't have people who have either long attention spans or comparative capabilities. Very clearly. Not yeah. I am certain if you are watching Tommy, that does not apply to you, but look around you. All
yeah.
right.
No, not you, not you, not everyone listening, not you. We're talking about everyone else, not you.
And so if you tell somebody on Monday, right, Russia is this angry animal that's going to invade all of Europe if we don't stop them in Ukraine, which is unironically what they'll tell you on Monday. And then no later than Wednesday, tell the general populace, like, oh, well, they're basically running out of tanks, and that's why we need to support the war because, and ammo, and, the Russian people will never tolerate this war, even though they've been tolerating it for years now. Uh, it doesn't matter, right? Because the juxtaposition of the two never happens. And that's so true that you can watch a couple of people since the war began at the beginning of a 2 minute video clip say Russia is a threat that must be stopped immediately. And at the end of the video clip say, and we're stopping them because they're morons and their people don't want to fight and we're mere moments from winning.
It,
In a span of a couple of minutes.
I think the craziest, and I mean, you gotta recognize a game. You gotta, applaud it. Is it was impressive. Alex Jones said on Joe Rogan in like 2017 or 18, I think, maybe before. But he was like, about Trump, he was like, well, how do you get the left? Don't trust anyone over 30, turn on, tune in, drop out. How do you get them to go against free speech? Well, you put in someone that, right, is a threat to, all right, so let's just take that idea and run with it. That was impressive enough to see people like kind of like the hippie, like that identify with like the Woodstock hippie movement, then saying like we need a censor and trust the government. It's even that was an interesting hole in one. It was like, all right, that was pretty good by the CIA or whoever, like noted. All right. But to get them being like, this is creating jobs for Raytheon. I saw a Reddit thread that was like, somebody's like, Russia's gonna fuck around and find out. And you have Reddit, fucking Reddit. And you have people being like, yeah, tell that to Northrop Grumman. And below that, it was like, and Raytheon. And it was like, and my ex, General Dynamics. So I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, holy, and it is so impressive. It is both so disillusioning to see just how fucking retarded and willfully ignorant people are, and also so wildly and chillingly impressive that like the psychological operations work so well that there is no moving truth there is no concrete truth anymore. It's just, I mean, in a matter of years, you have Reddit going like, tell that to Raytheon. I saw one there like an F-35 in Russia would be like a cat like in a room full of mice, and it was like,
Mice, yeah.
huh? Regardless of the
So,
fact that that's not even factual, but just the statement at all, instead of like, hey, why are we over there? Are we acting as like an imperialist power? Or the fact that
well,
they're just
so
like, you tell Putin that. I was like, Jesus, we're
this
going to World War III. It's
right on back to the SpongeBob type problem. Though this is at least as much a Superman problem, right?
yeah.
Which is to say that look back to your childhood cartoons or comics or whatever it is that you did for childhood entertainment. We juxtaposed perfect good and perfect evil, right? And then and probably Batman is the best example of this, right? Like violence is wrong, except that we have Batman doing all of this violence to solve these problems, right? Because, the police or whoever can't do it. And so war is terrible, except that Russia is this ephemeral evil, right? And listen to them on any given day of the week, and you'll watch how shiftable that is, right? All of you guys on the right hated Russia in 1991. Like, well, yeah, I wasn't a fan of commies then. I'm not now, you douchebag.
Yeah.
Well, but Russia's not actually communist. They're fascist. Fascist. And as we know, fascist means untouchably, ridiculously evil. And so it is self-evident that no matter how bad war is, fascism is worse. And so what we need to do is engage in that war that, the fascists would have engaged in if they were in control, because somebody somewhere needs some war. And it doesn't matter, right? No, your actions are fully justified. And this goes right on back to the boot camp thing, right? With, these people are evil. And so it doesn't matter what it is that we do here. We are justified in everything, right? And you can watch this playing out amongst mainstream commentators right now as they discuss whether or not it was a good idea to nuke Japan. And hey, look, I'm all for having nuke Japan. On the other hand, and you can tell me right there, feel free to your comment section. See, that's how much you're brainwashed. You even know it. Yeah, okay, fine. Maybe I am. But
I don't know, just the comment section. They're not real people. The audience is nothing but cattle. Go on.
that's fair. except Craig, who
Except Craig. No,
is Craig.
I've taken a note from dictators. You know, like you know what evil dictators do? They run the show,
Yeah.
right?
And
The donkeys were on time in Saddam's Iraq, so
there
that's
you
what
go.
it's. But as
Anyway, but
passively
this
talking about dehumanizing. No, 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 they're
right.
cattle. Fucking throw them in a machine.
Exactly. Right. Oh, and that's, listen to the discussions of what Russia is doing. They're not following the rules of war. They're all war criminals, this, that, and the other. And okay, so now no matter what we do, it's justified. And now, believe that or not, but that is the method being used here, right? Believe that we are justified in doing whatever or not. And the thing is, the brilliant Reddit brigade is here to tell you as they take their cell phones into a combat zone, get tracked, and then get artilleried for it.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Um, they're here to tell you that they are aware of how evil all of this is and that justifies anything that we do. And this has prompted them to say ridiculous things like we're going to nuke Russia, right? Which, by the way, if we nuke Russia, it's been nice knowing you. I am invariably way too close to nuclear missiles and will die in a giant ball of fire or from cancer
Aside
from
from
radiation. So,
radiation, people, I'm out. I'm away from cities.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
it doesn't. Hey, World War II, that was 15 kilotons from a plane. That
mhm.
wasn't multiple megatons, 10 per missile raining down.
Oh, yeah,
But go on, go.
exactly. Right.
That's looking at the guy next to you in the plane, going, "You're so fucked. All four engines are on fire. You are toast."
Yeah. But
Huh?
I mean, in the world of how much we just believe ridiculous propaganda, right? Way early on in the war, uh, Russia started fitting T-62s, a tank that is 60 years old, right? With just giant steel plates on the turret. And this was American propaganda to say that, see, it's over now. They're out of tanks. And I took one look at that and I went, how much is a man pad? Right.
How much
Because
steel plate?
they're fitting a steel plate for 50 grand. I mean, let's be generous, 50 grand. And we're trying to kill these tanks for a few $1 million a piece. When we fought the Cold War, a lot of the argument was, well, if we can make them spend $2 every time we spend $1, then they're going to lose, right? We're spending $1 million every time we spend $1.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I think seeing the acceptance of just like kill them, they're orcs,
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, like I'm not a pacifist, but at the same time, you see someone who's 18, you're like, you think that guy was sitting with Putin in the fucking KGB before this and was like, all right, so let's move in.
Well,
No, he
obviously,
was,
look, man, Russian boot camp is sitting in a big room with Putin and torturing puppies.
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. That's how you get a job with Tony Fauci. Sorry,
yeah,
my
no, yeah,
my bad.
no, so yeah, Sandfly, yeah, no, it's like that fucker didn't. That kid's like half my age, and they're like, kill him, kill the orc, turn him into
Yeah.
fertilizer, like kill the invaders. Okay,
Well, so again, understand that if you want guys to pull the trigger unrepentantly, right? You can't be like, all right, flip it off safe, and oh man, I bet you that guy has parents. Right.
well, of course not. No, of course, no, I know, I understand that. No, again, you have to recognize game. I mean, the psychological aspect behind all of this is, I mean, it's impressive. It is absolute. It's awesome. It's insane. But it is weird then, like just to see how as like a meta theme, like the 100,000 foot view, just remove just all this side, that side, whatever. Just observe like the mechanisms that are going on. That to have guys like Dale or you or Joe Kent or Clay talking about these are like wars of empire. These people don't these leaders don't love you. You're not fighting for America and apple pie. You're fighting for profits. And then to have the far lefties being like grind them into dust. Well, we are making money off turning Russians to fertilizer, regardless of my side, your side, whatever. Just but the very fact that these like immutable sides, the we end the forever war, occupy Wall Street versus like post 9/11. And again, I'm not for or against any of this, just observing it as passively as you can versus like the post 9/11, like they're terrorists, these aren't enemy combatants, Constitution doesn't apply to throw them to Gitmo, like go harder, like to just see the very reality that they've switched sides, regardless of my side, fuck all that, just observe it as. So if you were brand new to planet Earth and you were just watching the seasons, you didn't know what seasons were, you didn't know what months were, you didn't even know we had a calendar. You just watch trees shrivel up and die and then come back and be full of leaves and then die. You'd be like, that's fucking crazy. It's just what a cycle. It's just impressive at the very base level how malleable it all is. Just there is
So,
no static truth.
well, sure there is, right? You're just looking at the wrong things. So if you want to get the right angry, right? Let's forego all of the discussion about what terms are correct. You can have your pronoun argument elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you want to get the right angry, right? America needs to be under threat, which is why the right is pissed off right now. Everybody and their brother knows that America is not under threat. You know, even if all the propaganda is correct and Russia is about to flow into Europe and I don't know, turn England Orthodox, none of us care, right? That flag behind you, it's not a French flag,
I don't
right?
give a fuck. I'll miss you, Craig, but I don't care.
Right. Hey, you can Craig in particular, and maybe like three other people out of the whole nation can be refugees, and that's it. Everybody
Yeah,
else suck it.
yeah.
But if a plane is used as a weapon on American soil to destroy something that is important to America, well, now that flag behind you is important, right? Now
Mm,
the relevance matters, right? We've reached into your realm of wait a minute, I do care about this, right? And
mm.
make no mistake, I have the same bias here. By all means, turn Europe into a parking lot. Don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Uh, the whole country, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not even
But
talking about in a war, just in
mm,
general. Like
as a premise, right? Just the whole thing. Don't
as a
care.
prank, just go for
But
it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
exactly, right? But at the same time, and this is why every now and again you hear this kind of nonsense. Russia's thinking about taking back Alaska, right? Why? Alaska's American soil. And much as I don't want to be anywhere near Alaska, I hate the snow and the cold. If the reality was Russia sailed across the Atlantic Ocean and landed on Alaskan shores, I'd load up the truck with as many guns and ammo or as much guns and ammo as I could, take as many people as I could that pulled triggers, and I'd go up there and start dropping bodies.
yeah,
Right? Why? Because you're on American soil.
yeah,
And fuck you.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
However, as long as all we're arguing about is whether or not they're going to take Ukraine, the right doesn't care. Right. So now we're not offended and we want to know why it is that we should care this much. And there isn't an answer that appeals to the right. On the other hand, if you go to the left and you say all of these countries that we have been telling you are doing everything politically the right way for the past 50 freaking years
the healthcare, the
are about
migrants,
to
they're
be
so
invaded.
progressive. They don't have weapons. Look how low the crime is, and all of a sudden you go, "Hey, that thing's not standing up to an external enemy." That doesn't look too good if you're trying to implement that here.
Exactly. Right. So
Mhm.
the truth here is not about whether or not people like war. It's about whether or not the thing that they already cherish is being threatened in a way that they can understand, in a way that they can understand viscerally. Right.
Mhm.
And so if we're to look to these nations as this beacon of the way to do things because they're a bunch of fucking commies to begin with, then yeah, of course the left thinks the global communist revolution that is being done better over there than it is over here needs to be protected because the evil fascist regime that is Russia is threatening this beautiful way of life that basically all have open borders at this point, which the left already loves, and are doing all of these socialist things substantially better than the US, even if they're not doing it right, but they're doing it better, right? We need to protect that because they're leading the way. They're showing us how it should be done. right? And basically everyone who lives in Europe will say that's a bunch of bullshit, but I've spent my entire life listening to how Europe is doing everything right and we're a bunch of retards and we need to do things more like them. And that is not only from them, but from the left in America, right? So this thing, the shining city on the hill idea, for the left, that's not the United States. That's Europe, right?
Hmm.
You know, Sweden or France or whomever it is that is
You
their
mean that
pick.
Sweden? You mean that homogenous ethno state?
Yeah, not for that reason though, for literally any other reason. And but
If you're
you know,
lucky enough, you were born in Norway. Oh, you mean
exactly.
the place with all the white people that look this? Oh, just I'm just observing.
Yeah, Crackerville. And how dare you? And so, and so what you get is that, you know, if you want to manipulate people on large scale like this, you can't just go to them and hand them a rationally good idea. You have to find something that they already care about,
Yeah,
tell them that thing they care about is under threat, and then at that point they'll basically let you do whatever you want.
yeah, you got to tickle the
And
emotions.
and this is why, you know, when we watch at a like national level, right? Um, when George Bush says, we're invading Afghanistan. Oh, by the way, we're also invading Iraq, right? The reasoning there is kind of irrelevant, right? But the
It's so
terrorists,
close to 9/11. They're right by each other. They're all brown. It's sand. It's
whatever, man, right? Right? Well, but
punch it
there's
through 'em.
terrorists. You guys like my dad, and he didn't like Saddam either, right? Whatever
Yeah,
that bullshit excuse. It didn't matter what he said, right? Most of the right was like, I don't give a damn if we have to glass the entire Middle East. How dare you fly a plane into a building? Now, again, you can think what, well, it was actually the CIA who, okay, fine, 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 fine. On 9/12/2001, nobody cared. The right was out for blood because you came to American soil and you did something. Now, again, I don't care if the story was bullshit. I don't care if Building 7 didn't kill itself. I don't care. All right. You need to understand that on 9/12, it was you set foot on American soil, you caused violence, we're killing all of you. Right.
mm.
And that was just true. And so, what was the left over there doing? Like, well, I don't care if you blow up shit on American soil. I hate America anyways. Fucking good. You know, global capitalism is failing because, World Trade Center, fuck that thing. Right. And so, yeah, okay. Some of the lefties who had some general premise that killing people in one of the most liberal cities, regardless of how you calculate them, in the United States was a bad thing. I'm like, all right, well, fine. Kill that guy anyway. And I don't, fine. He's a CIA asset anyway, which by the way, the left was telling you on 9/12,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, okay. This is a guy that was fighting communist Russia, so he's terrible anyhow. And so you get a little bit of buy-in from the left. But as a premise, the right was out there, like, well, we do have nukes and fuck them. Right.
Yeah,
And so you're not arguing over the action itself. And that's what everybody wants to do, right? Wow, what is the morality of war? Well, if we wanted to be honest with ourselves, the morality of war
there's a bigger
is,
gun and more ammo. Shut up.
well, yeah, thanks Clausewitz, thanks Mao, thanks any number of people, right?
Yeah, powerful
Uh,
from the barrel of a gun.
And so, if we want to discuss when it is that populations find war moral, it is when something they already cared about is threatened,
Mm.
right? And specifically, if it's harmed, not just threatened, right? Because make no mistake, what's the justification for the Patriot Act been ever since? Well, there hasn't been another terrorist attack. See, who cares if I'm putting a microscope in your anus? No terror. Eh?
Mm.
Eh? Right? And you might not like that. I don't like that. It's a terrible idea. I can't believe we're actually doing this. Well, yes, I can. But no less, this is how you get this done, right? And we all want to argue about the minutia in the middle. And the minutia in the middle doesn't matter, right? And I know. I can hear every libertarian in the world. Oh my God, you're okay with killing babies because something on American like I thought you people were pro-life. First of all, shut the fuck up. All right. I'm not explaining to you my preference. I'm explaining to you how this works. And
Yeah.
I know you're all very smart and so much smarter than me, and that's great. You know that if we just convince people that war was wrong, everything in the world would be great. That's not coming, just so as you know, right? War is perfectly fine by basically everybody the moment they have a good justification for it.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, the right had a lot more power in 2001 than they do now. So whether or not the right likes it doesn't freaking matter, not even in the slightest. And the federal bureaucracy, despite what most of the internet will tell you, does need at least the tacit support of the populace. They need it.
Mm.
If the reality was 300 million Americans, 300 and what,
30,
15 million Americans
30.
hated the federal government of 17 million people, right? If they hated the federal government so much that no Fed could step out the door without being shot, they could never accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And so they need enough of the populace to go like, well, this is good, this is fine, so that they can continue doing what they're doing. And so whoever's power is in ascendancy, whoever generally is in control of things, that's who they placate, right? Which is why Russia is evil today, even though it has nothing to do with the United States, which, by the way, is why the right is so pissed. But the right controls nothing, right?
Mm. But it's just as like a side note. I think you and I talked about this once. It was like something to do with Dale. And we were like half joking. We're like, yeah, but what if Dale ends up wanting to like kill us or something? And we just both kind of just agreed. We were like, he's just gonna do that. So like that's kind of not even something to debate, right?
Yeah,
It's whatever. So it's like, yeah, actually, that wasn't the Middle East. That was the CIA. That's like such a far larger problem.
yeah,
Like, but it is, and it doesn't matter as long as the machine just keeps marching forward. And
sure.
it's apathy is for retarded faggots. But it is, you do have to also just observe reality. You'd be like, and to complicate all of this, everything, even what we began with talking about, like you come into this skiff to show you, fucking a Boy Scout on Epstein Island, or they scared the bejesus out of you and they go, Russia's gonna move on London. The hard part about all of that is there is still like some truth in shit. You can't just go, well, America's an empire and these are war of conquest. Wars of conquest are what run the fucking world. There's the history of mankind. And it's, if you're not on top of the pile, someone else is. That's
Mhm.
not that's not morally and ethically cheery, but neither is childhood cancer, but it's still a thing. So like in all of this, there is also like legitimate bad shit to where
Well,
you'd be
so
like, well, actually, no, we
this,
can't pull back all the bases because like Assad is a threat to this region. And it's like, maybe it's not fear. Like, maybe you really do go sit with other generals and like, yeah, we have this satellite footage of them doing this. And you're like, well, fuck, that is bad. And like, and if we have the ability, then like it is like an ethical duty to do so. And then you have some opportunists in it that are like, now let's turn this to a quagmire. And then you have the hippies and just waving the white flag going, this is all evil. And it's like, no, but it's somewhere in there. It's like they say, like, the problem with surgeons is they see everything through the eyes of like a saw or like a knife. They always want surgery. So make sure to get a second opinion. The other thing is like sometimes you do fucking need surgery.
yeah. Well, so welcome to the problem. You're asking too much, right? This is
This will be
this
the final episode.
requires this requires a dichotomous view of life, right?
Oh,
So is war inherently a good or bad thing? No, right? Oh
oh,
my God, I can't believe you said war isn't inherently good or inherently bad. Thank you, neocons and libertarians. Continue arguing. I don't care. But if if Russia was doing the things that they're purported to be doing, if Russia was landing on American soil, would a war against people who are invading your home and killing your neighbors be a good thing? Yeah, right. Oh, but that's never what we're talking about. Doesn't matter. It's whether or not war is ever a good thing, and
mm,
sometimes it is, right? And you can be a peacenik if you want, but everybody who is gets conquered eventually, right? And oh my God, but they were a peacenik for, I don't know, Switzerland was a peacenik for a billion years or whatever. Fine. Doesn't stop people from just rolling through there every now and again. Don't get me wrong, doesn't happen every day, right? There are plenty of times where you can be a peacenik and that's all right. But on a long enough timeline, you're going to get conquered, right? From Genghis Khan to now. And that is probably not the hard limit, right?
mm.
It's guaranteed before then, but and later than now. but no less, right? The question is not, it's basically the gun debate. Is guns inanimate object? Shut up, right? Is a gun inherently a morally good or bad thing? No, right? It's an object. Is shooting someone inherently a good or bad thing? No, right? Self defense exists. Any number of circumstances, right? Um, Mostly that most people are going to agree with in that vein, but no less, it's not inherently a good or bad thing. And most of what you need to decide along the way is where it is that you draw that line. And people don't, which is why they're so emotionally manipulable, right?
Mm.
And the output, right? So you see in the gun debate all the time, people go to like mom's demand action and be like, well, if someone was breaking into your house, wouldn't you want a gun to protect your children? Like, no, I think it would be a better idea if we just didn't
Talk to
shoot
him.
people. Right. If I made him a sandwich, right? First time that leftist woman ever wants to make a sandwich for a man is when he's breaking into her house to kill her. Ridiculous, but
All that's telling me is that gender roles are real and men need to use a strong backhand.
there it is, right?
That's all I got from this.
And so what you're looking at there is post emotional manipulation attempts to reason,
Yeah.
right? And that's not going to work, right? There's there's no time in which somebody irrationally hates something that you're going to rationally talk them out of it. We started with irrational. Rationality is not about to be forthcoming.
Yeah.
And that has been a problem. I mean, no no shade to throw on Thomas Sowell. I am not besmirching the man. But if rationality was going to kill irrationality, that man would have done it some 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's just true. You
Yeah.
don't have to like it. I've watched him back to like the 70s debate the feminists about, well, but everything you're saying is ridiculous. Right. And overtly, the things they're saying are ridiculous,
Doesn't matter.
but they're still here. Right.
Yeah. Well, he also said that there are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Indeed. Right. And by the way, in the world of all of our problems, summed up in one phrase, it's that one. Right. There's nobody wants to hear that there is a cost for the thing that they want to be doing. Nobody wants to hear that they're going to have to give something up. They want someone to wave a magic wand and solve their problems, right? And the moment the cost appears, everybody gets upset, right? And that ranges from Social Security, which is happening right now, Medicare, Medicaid, which is happening right now, welfare, which is happening right now, to, well, we're going to elect Trump and deport 20 million people, right? Like, yeah, okay, that's going to go great for about a weekend.
Yeah.
And then, and then one of them is going to resist, and a whole family, most of whom are going to be under 10 years old, is going to get smoked,
Yeah.
right? Because dad is, or probably not even dad, right? The guy running a child porn ring is going to be holding one of those kids like a bulletproof vest and firing from behind him. And right at that moment, it's going to be, oh my God, I can't believe we killed a bunch of kids. Right. And that's it. It's over. It's done. There's not, the left is going to hate it because the poor migrant who just wanted a better life has died. And the right is going to go, oh my God, I can't believe we're killing kids. That's where the cost will appear. Right. And as soon as that cost appears, it's going to be, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Right. And the answer is no, because basically we're children. We have been spoiled way too long. One of those things that I have seen the internet start talking about is, what do you think would happen if 20 million Americans landed on Chinese soil? What do you think Xi Jinping would do? And the answer is, of course, he would just start digging giant holes and putting us in them. Right.
Yeah.
And, in ridiculous ways, right? Like, hey, cuff 40 of them together and shoot 10, right? And then just bury them.
No, it'd be worse. They'd put you to work.
Very possibly, right? Literally anything other than come down here and have anywhere between $2 and $5 grand a month and start taking resources from our country. That would never happen, right? But you'd either be a pile of bodies or slave labor immediately, right? That's it. There are no other options.
It's like the meme. There's a million iterations of the meme. Like, no, you don't understand. I was going to be a neurodivergent poet for the cause, and it's like up against the wall.
Dig the
My
hole.
yeah, no, my favorite one is just my favorite one is just some like ghetto black chicks, and they're like, "We got rid of Whitey, now what?" And it's you dig bauxite mine now. And it's just no, that's hey, you'll wish you were dead,
Yeah.
right?
But
And it's per
that's been the history of Earth since
yes,
Earth,
it's
right?
yes, it's just it's fucking what it is, and it's when you look at all these European countries, and yeah, I don't doubt that it's nice to have subsidized healthcare, and it's but what you don't realize is that it's not just subsidized by your government, it's subsidized by the United States because you're not spending on the world police, right? And it's
So you're not not to be too horrifically critical
I
here,
don't
right?
give a shit.
But
Dude, I fucking
uh,
don't care.
again, this doesn't matter, right? Because
No, no,
we
no.
we live in this era where government should give gives, right? And you individually may disagree with that, but look around you, right? And the thing is, most of the people who think they disagree with it don't when it comes to whatever they want done, right? And if you don't
Precisely.
believe
It's
that,
precisely. It's
right, you know, one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard is that somebody was receiving a Civil War pension until something like 2003,
that's sick.
right? Uh, Now you can tell me, we should take care of our veterans. Well, nobody was 150 years old, and by the way, to be 150 years old, they had to be 10 in the Civil War. All right,
Which you might have been.
right, but not
There were some
150 in
no, there
2003.
yeah, there were some drummer boys. Yeah, no, we don't, government, get the fuck out of my home. Don't tell me how many guns I can own, except for when it comes to two men fuck in a bedroom.
Yeah,
Or it's, government fuck off. I should be able to smoke weed and marry my husband, but tell that guy he can't have a silencer.
yeah,
No one actually gives a shit. Hey, get rid of medic, get rid of the nanny state, support the veterans.
yeah.
I don't even disagree with this, but all right, so which one?
And so, right, what you end up with, and for everybody who wonders how it is that we get in the position that we're in, is that you, whomever you are, probably think something the government is doing is beneficial. And so when it is time to stop the government from doing something, everybody who thinks it's beneficial trots out all the benefits it has done. This is why we can't get rid of the Affordable Care Act / Obamacare. Same thing. Because somebody will come walking out and go, I'm only alive because of the Affordable Care Act. I would have done, and I have watched people do this. I have had this done to my face. And it doesn't matter what you say from that point. What you are telling this person, whether you intend to be or not, no matter how reasonable you are, is that their life is not as important as some sort of fiscal policy in DC. And nobody believes you. Zero people believe that is true, right? And so when it's time to say, well, we should shrink the DoD budget, which we probably should. There's no reason. I mean, we spend money on just the dumbest shit in the world, but you're going to come to the right and go, uh, we should shrink the DoD budget, who, by the way, are rightly, in my opinion, right this moment, going to go, what we should do is put the U.S. Army on the southern border. That doesn't sound like shrinking the budget to me.
Hmm.
Oh, okay, fine. Um, what are we cutting, and who's okay with it, right? And this is effectively why you can't get rid of a government program, right?
Yeah.
Because someone is going to trot out the 9-year-old child who is only alive today because of policy X, Y, or Z, right? Who I don't know, did whatever. And it doesn't matter where you go or what policy, right? This is how we keep maintaining it, right? It's been so long now, I'm sure nobody remembers, but when the Affordable Care Act was being proposed, there was a lady on the East Coast, I want to say North Carolina, and she was a realtor, and she got cancer, and she didn't have medical insurance, but she had paid her bills and done all the right things for years and years and years. And when she got cancer, she went broke, right? And she didn't have medical insurance because it was too expensive. Now, she had a Mercedes, but she didn't have medical insurance because it was too expensive. Now, That was a good. I mean, Bernie Sanders trotted this lady out across the nation, right? Took her to events, all kinds of shit, and everybody went, "Oh my God, that's real sad. That shouldn't be how it is." And maybe that is, maybe it isn't. I'm not here to give you a moral judgment on that, but understand that whatever it is you want to get rid of, that lady exists for, and I don't care what it is, right? You want to get rid of Section 8 housing. There's a lady who has done everything right in her whole life. She was a housewife. She spent 13 years with her husband, who was killed in Afghanistan, trying to. I don't know. He was the last man standing as he was laid siege to by 200 insurgents, of which he killed 165 before they finally took him down. And this lady's on welfare because of that. Right now, what you need to be willing to do is tell that lady that sucks, and nobody wants to be doing that. Right.
Nobody wants to do it. And to kind of tie it full circle, though, that's where war comes in. Is all of these things. There's a baby face in front of it. You go, well, I can't fucking. I don't. Why? No, I'm not gonna cut the bill. But what eventually does happen though is, and you're starting to even just like a little bit of it in my like 4 days back on Twitter, right? Is like just seeing like people be like, what you have to realize is that we are all one race, but we are different tribes, and you have to ask yourself, are other tribes, do you view them as less than yours? And like the overwhelming responses are like, yeah. And
Well,
like, well, so but my point is though is,
sure.
so at what point, so like you and I, it's like it's hard for me. You trot out that lady, and I'm sitting here going, well, fuck, I'm 33 in good health, and I have my own job, and everything's, yeah. It's hard to, even if like it's her, and it's nothing standing between like me and $10 trillion in budget cuts, but her, and it's like, are you gonna really say it in front of fucking everyone? You're like, no. But what happens though is, and this is where war comes in, is it will get so bad you will have no food, no water. There'll be civil just collapse, that you are going to have people who are, because right now it is like that's the worst thing you can do is say no, it doesn't matter, because now everything else is so taken care of. Your door's shut, the electricity comes on, water comes out of the pipes, you have food. So now it's bad to look like that, right? Versus if things are so fucked and everyone, you haven't showered in a year, and you're seeing if you have enough ammunition to take down the next fucking shelter of people and take their food and whatever batteries they have left over, and someone goes, man, can you believe that they're standing between us? And you're like, shut the fuck up. Are you with them or not? Because it is
So,
now acceptable, because the environment is so fucked. So if you have a war, you are gonna have people going, yeah, I'm sorry, but we just gotta cut all the fucking social security shit. We gotta go fight Imperial Japan. That's where
so
war comes in.
that's a very rational view of what would happen there. And I would propose that that is not actually how it happens.
And but now sprinkle emotions.
Hmm.
No rational plan survives first contact with the emotional enemy.
So yeah, it's a fact, but it's less that, and that despite all of the zombie apocalypse movies and Mad Max and this, that, and the other, when horrific things like that happen in global history, what usually happens almost always is that people start paring down who it is that they care about enough that hypothetically, at least, they can take care of whatever smaller group there is. And rarely do they group together and rise up and do anything, right? It is not a majority of cases. It is not even a plurality of cases. It is the edge case at best,
Freak
right?
lottery, lightning strike cases.
Sure. I mean, everybody's favorite example is World War II and the Holocaust and what have you. But I would suggest to you that the Holodomor over in Ukraine was
Mhm.
not substantially better or different, right? And they what if you read Solzhenitsyn, what do you find when people went to the Gulag? It was they do things like move their name down the list. They're not getting these people together to rise up against, let's be honest, a relatively small quantity of guards per person. There is no prison that has ever existed where the number of guards was larger than the number of prisoners. And nobody wants to be the first one shot, and nobody wants to be the second one shot. Nobody wants to be the eighth one shot, right? So maybe what we should do is rise up and yeah, okay, these sorts of things happen every now and again. But even in the cases where they do, there's not much, right? There's not a ton I am substantially a bigger fan of communist history in the sense that you should know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so while Ukraine is shaving the bark off trees and boiling it so that they can have soup, and you're thinking to yourself, man, there's like 10 guys with AKs. You could probably fix that.
Bum rush them. Well, who?
Yeah. Who's doing it?
We probably won't die. Who's we?
Yeah. Right. And so as much as, but somebody raiding compounds, more likely, way, way more likely, people will try and hide from it. And as they try and hide from it, what they'll do is withdraw from society. Right. And as they withdraw from society, they'll need to care about less and less people. So when the next town over is burning to the ground, it will be that's a them problem. Right. It's not a me problem. And this will be true. And I mean, it's already, you're already seeing this happening, right? Where it can't be less than 12 hours between ridiculous videos of things that happen in major cities that I see personally, right? Now, to be fair, I follow these things, but once every 12 hours or so, absolute maximum is a bunch of guys who take over a street. They're having a gunfight and at the same time, a destruction derby. They're just slamming cars into each other. They're killing people, all kinds of stuff. That is a them problem. It's not a me problem. It's not a you problem. It's not an anybody who's not right there problem, right? And part of that is that as the inflation kicks in and people go, well, even if I wanted to help, now I couldn't. I've still got to feed my family, right? What is that? That is the shrinking of who you care about. Now, as a premise, that's probably a good thing because we got to stop caring about the whole freaking world. But DC is also distant, right? It is not a thing that people want to care about. And even if they do, mostly they just want to bitch about it, right? There are effectively no people who are saying, well, if we just got DC straight and this is how we're going to do it, right? Yeah, okay, there's plenty of people who would tell you if we got DC straight, none of them want to do anything about it, right? None of them want to rise up and do anything for damn sure. Very few of them want to do more than vote once every 2 to 4 years, right? So much so that simply calling a guy and going, what you're doing is stupid is way too big of a task for most people, right? But I can walk into a room once every 2 to 4 years and go, that guy, right? And then be upset when that guy doesn't do what I wanted him to do. I can be pissed off. But right now, what I really need to do is take care of whatever I consider my direct responsibilities. My house, my video games, my car, my whatever it is, right? And part of that is the feeling that these people are untouchable, right? But then again, everything feels untouchable till you try and touch it. But nobody does, right? Because stepping past that fear, stepping past, whatever it is that's holding you back is too much, and that is partly a product of comfort, right? Whether or not you've got to, I don't know, trim back on whatever extravagant lifestyle, and dear America, you need to understand that you live an extravagant lifestyle. All of you. Oh my God, but Don, I'm poor. No, you're really not. No, there is no historical equivalent of the poor in the United States that means poor. No. None. Right? There's barely a globe. That guy living on the side of the road in San Francisco, at least upper middle class in about 2/3 of the world.
If you make like $25,000, you're in the top 1% of the world population. You are the 1%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so who wants to give that up? And the answer is basically nobody, right? You're too personally invested in your own life. And look, I am not immune to this criticism, right? I am investing in my own life substantially more than I'm investing in politics. Despite how many people are riding my balls to go back to investing heavily in politics. It remains true. I'm investing more in my life than I am in politics, right? And equally, by the way, politics is seen as some sort of ephemeral thing happening over there, right? People who will tell you every day of the week, I'd be happy to pay 2% more taxes so that we could do X, Y, or Z, are also the people going, well, this sucks because I'm paying 2% more taxes. Well, what did you think would happen? Did you think it would be fine, you idiot?
Hmm.
But that's one, foreseeing the consequences of your own actions, which we're not very good at. And two, the general implication that like I could be slightly less comfortable, even though nobody wants to be, in trade for whatever thing that is doing a greater good or whatever. That's mostly a leftist problem, but it happens to the right too, right? You know, there's a growing, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, growing population of people who are big fans of leftist economics, but have a right wing disgust feature, right? People who will tell you that, the child genital mutilation is terrible, but also we should have a welfare state, right? And whether you like it or not, that group of people is growing and not slowly, right? 5 years ago, they were there. Now they're in office in a few places. Now they're a constituency to be pandered to, right? And they grew up on the internet from effectively nobody to people who are at least getting near power. Whether or not they could affect these things in real life doesn't matter because the left is going to give them the welfare state, right? Whether you like it or not. And that is whether anybody wants to believe it or not, right? And there's tons of people who will tell you stupid things like the uh, aforementioned ethno state that is Sweden, so they can have a welfare state, right? The problems are still there, whether you like it or not. And the answer, well, but it's different problems. I hear the British all the time say, well, the NHS would be fine if we just only had Britons. Like, well, the NHS has been a disaster since its invention, right? Since the inception of the NHS, it was ridiculously bad. And there's lots of excuses for that, but it's still true, right? And now this might sound like no true communism because it is, right? Oh, no true welfare state. Mine will work out better if only white people, if only Swedes, if only. It doesn't matter. Fill that blank in. Only multi-generational Americans. Well, okay, fine. It's still the same problems, right? Once you start giving somebody something they don't have to pay for directly, they stop giving a shit about abusing it. And that's just true, right? Yeah.
Evolutionarily, it seems that pulling back and consolidating your forces and shrinking your border, and your border can be your. When I lived in a frat house, my border was my bedroom. I was like, I can't. The house is a fucking mess. I can keep my room clean.
Yeah.
Evolutionarily, that's kind of what works. It's not
Well,
not a comment on right or wrong. That's what survives. There's a reason why we default back to that because
sure.
that's what works.
Yeah. Well, so it's very easy to not worry about that when the cost is not obvious or immediate, right? So nearly everybody who's had roommates has come up with some Byzantine scheme of doing household chores, right? And then what you find out is that Bob never does the dishes, right? Right.
Yeah.
It's the first thing everybody finds out.
Yeah.
And or Bob never sweeps the floor, whatever it is. Bob's an asshole. Just deal with it, Bob. And so then you start to get, well, how do we account for this? Because we can't just have, Bob cleans the bathroom and it turns out it's growing black mold now. We can't just leave that. And so you have a few options, right? You can either everybody else does Bob's work, you get rid of Bob, right? Um, you assign somebody to beat Bob with a stick until Bob does his job, right? Now, these answers probably sound very similar because it's how the Soviet Union treated its populace, right?
Yeah. If you're gonna, yeah, you back it with the gun.
And those are the options, right? Because people are not invested, whether or not, they would tell you superficially that they are. They're not invested in this big group outcome. They have other things that they care about, right? But if the cost of doing this is low, right? If I come to you and say you don't have to do all of your own dishes anymore, you, me, and Bob are going to split the dishes. You go, I'm doing, maybe one day I have to do dishes, or maybe 2 days a week I have to do the dishes, or whatever it is, right? And so now, even though I have to do a little bit more at one point, I have the rest of the week free. Sounds great until you implement it, right? And this problem that everybody who's ever had a roommate has dealt with, right, is exactly the same problem with socialism, right? But it doesn't matter. And I can't say this enough. For everybody who wants to get hugely intellectual about this, quote Milton Friedman, it doesn't matter. Unironically, you can quote Milton Friedman to the people who want this. You can get them to agree that you are right. And their answer will be, yeah, but we should still take care of the poor.
Mm-hmm.
And it, that is not that is not an intellectual, rational argument. It's not. And you're trying to go, well, you feel bad about that guy. Stop it because math, right? Okay, good luck to you. If this was going to work, it would have worked already.
And it comes back to full circle then. So it all does eventually come down to a gun. It's
And
now.
that's what it will always come down to, right? So we have been very used to, as a society, things not coming down to a gun, right? And we have for a long time, probably at least a century, right? And every now and again in that century, it's come up that it comes down to a gun, right? The Battle of Athens is just the peak of it. It always comes down to a gun. But for the most part, I have a problem. I'm going to take you to court, right? I'm going to, I'm going to get Karen to tell your friends, right? Let me talk to your dad. I'd like to speak to the manager, right? There's always some method that is presented that is not, we'll just shoot him in the face, right? Now, if you have any control over those systems, then those methods cease to matter, which is basically where we are, right? Um, for anyone watching the court system and going, how? I mean, this is self-evidently stupid. Well, because people who don't have any interest in following the rules have a lot of sway and control in the court system. How is it that you're going to solve that problem? I don't know. And I certainly am not going to suggest that it's going to come down to a gun, but I am going to tell you that for all of human history, it came down to a gun. So maybe you can go have a rational argument with the judge who thinks that cutting off children's genitalia is more important than anything else. Let's say I have doubts.
Um, I said we wrap it up because my bladder and my ass are going to explode soon. But I was just
Cool.
thinking, like, what we need is, aside from you creating your content again, which you will, I will continue to bully you. I am in cohorts with Dolio. We will form an alliance and subvert your own interests.
I mean, that has clearly already happened.
Instead of like there's like bleeping and then also like you pixelate the mouth so you can't see them like enunciate fuck. We need to create a Fed post bleep. Now I'm not saying it's gonna come down to a gun, but and historically, yeah, it's just like, and I'm not saying to go to this judge's house, but just like in theory, like
Well, look, there's a group of people who have been monitoring these sorts of things for years, who are socially unacceptable. We'll put it that way, and that is the red pill guys, right? Who are there to tell you that family court's screwed up and that gender relations are screwed up, or and on and on and on. But one of the various things I've noted come out of them over the years is that guys, as a premise, will not uh, decide to solve the problem of the family court system with a gun in any meaningful way. They'll shoot their ex, they'll shoot themselves. Shooting judges is pretty rare, though. Now, if this guy is sitting in this robe and ruining the lives of tens of thousands of people, it stands to reason that if you were going to solve the problem with a gun, he'd at least be a target. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that's a good idea. You should definitely not do it. It's not legal advice or a suggestion of behavior. But if you're going to pick up a gun, why would it be the guy that ruins your life? And whatever the answer to that is a serious discussion that should be had, because we don't in any way try to solve problems that are systematized, right? And again, I'm not suggesting that needs to be solved with a gun. Maybe all it comes down to is, the judges need to be impeached and put in prison every couple of years. That's fine. But the quick and dirty here is, if the system is causing you a problem because it is nonsensical and ridiculous, something should probably be done about the system instead of eating a gun or eating a bullet, right? But that's not how we deal with things. We internalize, or we take the emotional subject of whatever our problem is and we take it out on that, right? Now, this problem, this general behavior, is the kind of thing that is going to cause all of the problems that we have and going to perpetuate them, right? If you want to talk about DC being a disaster, right? And everybody does, then at some point or another, something needs to be done about DC. And here's a problem that everybody in the world of wrapping it up, this is, I will leave you all to ponder. No matter what you say, what you do matters more. It's called revealed preference in the world of economics. And it is, actions are, deeds, not words, for, I think that's Fifth Marines. And, on and on and on. Throughout all of history, somebody is there to tell you that words are cheap, or any other thing that you want to say that covers the premise that what you do matters more than what you say. And the thing is, what everybody who complains about DC does is complain about DC. Nobody does anything, right? Or some eminent minority, right? The AK guy out there running for Congress. Well, at least he's trying. But nobody does anything. And in the world of, if you want something to change, you have to do something, right? Hey, the door doesn't close. Well, let's just bitch about it. Well, the door is going to continue to not close. It's just true. And we know this when it is obvious and material and directly in front of us. I have a flat tire. Well, let's sit on the side of the road and cry. How many of you think that's a good idea? You're bitching about it. Same thing you're doing with the DC problem, right? And this is why whomever you want to call them, the deep state, the CIA, whatever, can do whatever they want.
Per the judge conundrum, and yeah, if not to iterate for the 9 trillionth time, this is Don and I talking in hypotheticals. Fuck off. If I had to take a stab at why it turns out that way, to shoot the ex and or yourself doesn't mean that, the judge didn't cause that. It could just be such rage quitting to where it's like, why would I even fucking bother getting in my car and going there when I can just end it here? Like, what? It's you're at a point where you're just so fucking finished with it. You're like, why? Fuck off. Oh, what? So I can prevent it from happening to someone else? No one helped me. That's the only thing I could just, as an aside, just as a problem solving exercise.
Sure.
That's the only thing I could think of, is just be like, I don't fuck. Why do it? The only thing I have left is my name. What, do I want to be a judge killer? No, I'll go down as a suicide.
Hopelessness is a serious problem throughout the country, right? Which in the world of ridiculous things that I foolishly step into on a regular basis. Every one of their brothers here to tell you, for example, how you can't buy a house in this country unless you make $25 million a year, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And my answer to that regularly is to go, yes, you can. You just don't want to, right? And the combination of being a spoiled brat and being unwilling to compromise on what it is you want. And the demand that somebody else solve it for you provides plenty of hopelessness, right? Because as it turns out, you only got one set of parents and you were only 3 years old once. So presumably, if you go to the mall and you throw a temper tantrum and what you want is that brand new ray gun, at the end of being 3, somebody should come by and tell you that's not how it works. But that's not what we do. We say that we should price control housing. We say that we should price control wages, right? Because we're going to go to the mall and throw the temper tantrum and say, give me the ray gun. And we're 3 years old. We don't care what it costs. That ray gun could be $5 million. We don't care. Just want the ray gun. I want my immediate need met, and I want it met to my satisfaction right now.
Yeah.
And need is probably too big of a word. It's really more like want.
Yeah. Well, everybody, leave in the comments, harass Don, tell him to get back to content creation. I've done so out of purely the enjoyment of being a nagging ex. I know other people actually want you to create content. So Don will do that. You just have to keep pushing him, maybe light his property on fire. Maybe, I don't know.
I live in Texas. Before you come to light my property on fire, check my local self-defense laws.
Bring a gun and light his property on fire. Don't fucking listen. Don't take that as a challenge. Man up. It's your right to light Don's property on fire.
Thanks. When Antifa shows up, I'm
allowed to incite violence to fellow guests, right? That's
sure. Why not?
That's how the law works. But yeah, guys, in the description, please go follow Don's Twitter. I think it's in there. If it's not, I'll put it on there. Don, thank you for your time. You will start a new show soon enough. And
not to blue ball everyone as I have for years, but I'm told that the end of this, well, I know at the end of this week, I'm going to go visit the aforementioned Joe Dolio up in Montana. And I am told I will be given a class on not only why I should create content, what I should do with it, and how I will be beaten with the nearest stick if I don't start.
Yeah, or light his property on fire.
Also that.
Yeah. But it's a good problem to have, Don, that people want you to create content. It's a good problem to have. Most people get told,
shut up and go away.
Yeah, most people get told you're a faggot. The name Tommy's gay. I'm just throwing this out there as a thought exercise. And definitely doesn't happen to me. You're a
random example.
You're a fucking fat, pale loser faggot. Get a life. I mean, people just throw around hurtful words, and it's a whole thing. He will create it. He doesn't have an option. Light his property on fire. That's my final thoughts on that. Don, I'm gonna go shit my brains out. So thank you for your time, and I'll text you this episode. Until next time, brother. Thank you so much.
Good shit, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Much love, buddy. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care, everybody. God bless. Peace.